Welcome from all of us at He Is Risen Ministries. Your support by subscribing and giving a thumbs up helps us keep creating videos that inspire and equip those seeking a deeper walk with the Lord. Today I want to share a story Jesus told, a short story, but one that has a way of quietly reaching into our lives. It's found in Luke 12:16-21. Jesus tells of a man whose land produced a very large crop. This man looked at what he had and said to himself, "What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops." So he made a plan. He said, "I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods." Then he said something that sounds very familiar even today. "I will say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." But then comes the moment that changes everything. God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself?" And Jesus ends the story with a simple truth. This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves but is not rich toward God. Now, to understand why this story hit so deeply in the first century, we need to picture life back then. People lived much closer to the land. There were no grocery stores on every corner, no refrigerators, no long-term storage like we have today. If your crops did well, that meant security. It meant your family would eat. It meant you might survive a drought. It meant you had something others didn't. And barns were everything. They were like a bank account, a retirement plan, a safety net. So when Jesus describes a man with so much abundance that his barns can't hold it all, everyone listening would have thought, this man is blessed. They would have admired him, respected him, maybe even envied him. And when he decides to build bigger barns, it would have sounded wise. Responsible, forward-thinking. But Jesus flips the whole picture, because the issue was not that the man had wealth. The issue was what the wealth did to his heart. Listen closely to his words again. "What shall I do? My crops, my barns, my grain, my goods, I will say to myself." Do you hear it? Everything revolves around him. There's no mention of God, no thought of others, no gratitude, no generosity, just bigger, more, mine. And that's where the problem begins. In simple terms, this parable is not about money. It's about misplaced trust. The rich man believed his security came from what he stored. He thought his future was guaranteed because of what he had, but he forgot something very important. Life is not controlled by what we accumulate. Life itself is a gift, and it can be required of us at any moment. Jesus calls him a fool, not because he was successful, but because he lived as if God didn't matter. He prepared for years ahead, but not for eternity. Now let's bring this into our world today, because even though we don't store grain in barns, we do the same thing in different ways. We store up in bank accounts, in retirement funds, in possessions, in achievements. We say things like, once I reach this number, I'll feel secure. Once I get this house, I'll relax. Once everything is in place, then I'll enjoy life. And there's nothing wrong with planning, nothing wrong with saving. But here's the question this parable asks us quietly. Where is your trust really resting? Is it in what you've built, or in the one who gave you the ability to build it? Let me give you a simple picture. Imagine someone spends years building a beautiful house. Every detail is perfect, strong foundation, stunning design, but they build it on land they don't own. One day the rightful owner comes and says, "This land was never yours," and suddenly everything they built doesn't matter. That's what this parable is getting at. The rich man built his life on something temporary. And when eternity stepped in, he had nothing that could carry over. Let's make this even more personal. Think about a smartphone. We store everything on it. Photos, messages, important notes. Now imagine that one day it crashes completely. No backup, no cloud storage. Everything is gone. That's what it's like to invest only in this life and not in eternity. All the effort, all the accumulation, gone in a moment. But Jesus is not trying to scare us. He's trying to awaken us, because there is another way to live. He calls it being rich toward God. And what does that look like? It looks like a life that values what God values. It looks like generosity instead of hoarding, gratitude instead of entitlement, trust instead of control. It looks like using what we have not just for ourselves, but for others. Think about it this way. Two people can have the same amount of money. One holds on to it tightly, afraid to lose it. Two, the other uses it to bless others, to help, to give, to make a difference. Outwardly they may look the same, but inwardly they are completely different. One is storing up here, the other is storing up in eternity. And here's the beautiful truth. When you live with eternity in mind, you actually enjoy life more, not less, because your peace isn't tied to what you have. It's tied to who God is. You're not constantly afraid of losing things because your treasure isn't here to lose. Let's talk about some real life examples. Maybe it's the person who works hard their whole life just to accumulate, but never takes time for relationships. They have everything but feel empty. Or the person who says, I'll start focusing on God later. Right now I'm busy building my life, but later never comes. Or maybe it's much simpler. It's choosing to give when it would be easier to keep. It's choosing to trust when it would be easier to worry. It's choosing to thank God instead of assuming everything is ours by right. Being rich toward God doesn't require a certain income. It requires a certain heart, a heart that says everything I have comes from Him, a heart that says I want my life to matter beyond this moment, a heart that understands we are not owners. We are stewards, caretakers, managers of what God has entrusted to us. And one day, we will give an account, not of how much we had, but of what we did with it. Now let me gently ask you something. If tonight your life was required of you, what would remain? Not your house, not your bank account, not your possessions, but your faith, your love, your impact on others. Those are the things that carry into eternity. And the good news is it's never too late to shift direction. You don't have to tear down barns. You just have to refocus your heart. Start small. Thank God for what you have. Look for ways to bless someone else. Spend time with Him. Let your life be shaped not just by what you gain, but by who you are becoming. Because at the end of the day, that's what this parable is really about. Not losing your life chasing things that were never meant to last, but gaining a life that truly matters. A life rooted in God. A life that carries beyond this world. So today, take a quiet moment and ask yourself, what am I really building? And even more importantly, am I rich toward God? Because that's the kind of wealth that will never be taken away. Got a question you'd like us to explore in a future video? Drop it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. For now, rest in the knowledge that the one who loved you first has already prepared a place for you in His eternal family, and may His voice ring clearly and powerfully this very day.